Change your state. Change your life. This simple truth holds immense power. In any given moment, the way you feel, your emotional state, is not random or out of your control. It's something you can shift instantly by changing your physicality. Your emotions are deeply linked to your body. How you breathe, how you move, how you hold yourself. These factors send powerful signals to your brain, influencing how you feel. If you're slouched over, shallow breathing, and still, your body communicates a message of defeat or sadness. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, lift your chest, and move with purpose, your brain starts to receive a very different message. You start to feel more energized, confident, and in control. This isn't about pretending to be happy or forcing fake positivity. It's about taking back control of your state. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or a change in circumstances to feel better. You don't have to wait for life to be easy to feel joy. You can access it right now, in the middle of stress, chaos, or frustration. The first step is to decide that you will not let your emotions run you. You run your emotions. And the fastest path to doing that is through your body. Try this. The next time you feel stuck in a negative mindset, get up and move. Go for a quick walk. Jump up and down. Shake out your arms. Take 10 deep breaths. It might sound simple, even silly, but it's incredibly effective. When you move your body, you shift your state. When you change your posture, you start to shift your emotions. When you engage your physical energy, your mental energy follows. This technique works because the body and mind are inseparably linked. Emotion is created by motion. You can't feel angry or depressed in the same way when your body is moving powerfully. Your brain picks up on your physical cues and adapts. That's why athletes often talk about getting in the zone through rituals of motion and breath. It's not magic, it's strategy. You can use the same approach to create a peak state anytime, not just when you're on a stage or in a game, but in your everyday life. Once you understand this, you start to realize you're not a victim of your thoughts. You're not at the mercy of your feelings. You can shift from feeling overwhelmed to feeling clear-headed. You can shift from feeling defeated to feeling empowered. And the best part is, you can do it in seconds, without needing to talk it out, figure all out, or wait for something to change. All you need is the willingness to change your physical state. It's the first step to happiness and the fastest way to silence the noise of negative thoughts. Start with your body, and your mind will follow. Change your state, and you change your life. Where focus goes, energy flows. This is one of the most powerful truths when it comes to shaping your happiness and removing negative thoughts. In every moment, your mind is focusing on something, whether consciously or unconsciously. The challenge is that most people allow their focus to be controlled by the environment around them, by problems, by fear, by what's lacking. And wherever you place your focus, that's where your emotional energy will go. If you focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what might go wrong, you'll feel anxious, sad, or defeated. But if you intentionally redirect your focus to what's good, what's working, and what's possible, you'll start to feel empowered, hopeful, and happy, even in the middle of a storm. The truth is, we all face challenges. We all experience setbacks, disappointments, and uncertainty. But how we interpret those experiences is determined by what we choose to focus on. Two people can go through the exact same situation and come out with completely different emotional responses. One may focus on what was lost, the unfairness, and the pain. The other may focus on what they learned, how they grew, or what opportunities might now be open to them. The difference isn't in the situation. It's in the focus. Your brain is always scanning for information. It will find whatever you tell it to look for. If you say, everything's falling apart, your brain will find all the proof to support that thought. But if you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or, what's one thing that's going right today? Your brain will begin to filter your reality through that lens. This isn't about lying to yourself or ignoring problems. It's about choosing a focus that empowers you to act, grow, and rise rather than spiral downward. This shift in focus also helps silence negative thoughts. When you're caught in a cycle of negativity, your mind is usually focused on something painful or fearful. But your brain can't hold two dominant thoughts at once. If you shift your focus to gratitude, to solutions, or even to simple things like nature, laughter, or music, those negative thoughts begin to lose their grip. You don't have to fight them. Just redirect your attention. It takes practice, but it gets easier. Start becoming aware of where your focus goes throughout the day. Are you constantly focusing on what's missing, or are you training your mind to see what's possible? Begin each morning by directing your focus with intention on goals, gratitude, or something exciting. That focus will create momentum, and that momentum will create energy. Positive energy is born from positive focus. In the end, your focus shapes your experience. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control where you direct your mind. And when you learn to master your focus, you learn to master your emotional state. Where focus goes, energy flows, and that's where happiness begins. The words you use every day are not just labels of your experience. They become your experience. Language is powerful. It doesn't just describe how you feel. It shapes how you feel. The way you talk to yourself, the words you attach to your emotions, the phrases you repeat in your head. These are not harmless. They are commands to your nervous system, and they can either lift you up or pull you deeper into negativity. Most people don't even realize how destructive their language can be. They use words like, I'm devastated, I'm broken, or I'm a failure, without stopping to realize that those words create a much more intense emotional state than the situation actually calls for. Think about it. If someone cuts you off in traffic and you say, I'm furious, your body responds as if something truly life-threatening is happening. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your mind floods with anger. But if instead you say, that was annoying, you still acknowledge what happened, but the intensity is dramatically reduced. You stay in control. That one word shift changes everything. That's the power of vocabulary. Most negative emotional patterns are reinforced by habitually using intense or disempowering language. The good news is you can break that pattern. You can condition yourself to use softer, more empowering language in your everyday thoughts and conversations. Instead of saying, I'm so stressed out, try saying, I'm a little challenged right now. It may sound subtle, but the difference in how you feel is real. The language you use creates the meaning of your experience. And the meaning you assign determines your emotions and your actions. It's not just about softening words, though it's also about elevating the language you use to describe your life. Use words that inspire you. Talk about your goals as exciting missions rather than overwhelming burdens. Talk about your challenges as opportunity for growth instead of problems. Reframe your inner dialogue with empowering, constructive language. This is not about lying to yourself. It's about speaking in a way that keeps you in a resourceful state. You can also turn this into a game. Catch yourself when you use extreme negative language and playfully replace it with something ridiculous or exaggeratedly positive. Say, I'm not furious. I'm just a little fired up. Or instead of saying, I'm terrified, say, I'm getting energized. It might feel strange at first, but it shifts your emotional intensity and reminds you that you're in control. You're not at the mercy of your words. Your words are at the mercy of you. By becoming conscious of your language, you start to reclaim your emotional power. You start to feel more grounded, more balanced, and more in charge of your inner world. Your vocabulary becomes a tool for transformation. You can speak yourself into stress or speak yourself into strength. Choose your words like your life depends on it, because it does. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotional states a human being can experience. When you're truly in a state of gratitude, it becomes nearly impossible to feel fear, anger, frustration, or sadness at the same time. That's because gratitude shifts your focus away from what's missing or what's wrong and places it directly on what's present and what's good. It tunes your mind into abundance instead of lack. It brings your awareness into the now, rather than dwelling in regrets of the past or worries about the future. In any situation, no matter how difficult, practicing gratitude can radically shift your emotional state and allow happiness to rise within you. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're choosing to see what's already beautiful. Many people wait for big moments to feel grateful. They think gratitude comes when they finally succeed, when they get the promotion, when the relationship is perfect, when life lines up exactly as they imagined. But that's not how it works. Gratitude isn't a reaction. It's a decision. It's a muscle that has to be trained. not just something that shows up when things go your way. And the most powerful time to practice it is when things are not going your way. That's when it creates the biggest transformation. That's when it reconnects you with what's real and meaningful, even in the middle of pain or chaos. A daily gratitude practice can change the way your brain is wired. When you start and end each day by naming just a few things you're truly thankful for, things you feel in your heart, not just your head, you start to recondition your mind to see life differently. You begin to notice little things, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the breath in your lungs, the people who care about you. And as you continue to do this consistently, your emotional baseline shifts. You stop chasing happiness and start living it. Gratitude also grounds you. When the world feels overwhelming, it brings you back to what really matters. It reminds you that there's always something good, even if it's small. And from that place, you can begin to build. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing to focus on what's true and beautiful even while facing challenges. It's not about denying your pain. It's about not letting pain become your only story. When you make gratitude a habit, you create a buffer against negativity. You build emotional strength. You become more resilient, more compassionate, and more joyful. Not because life is perfect, but because you've trained yourself to see the perfection in life's imperfection. The practice is simple, but the effect is profound. Gratitude opens your heart, calms your mind, and clears space for happiness to exist regardless of circumstances. It's a daily discipline that rewires your emotional world from the inside out. And once you feel that shift, you'll realize that happiness was never something to find. It was something to unlock. A compelling future is the fuel that drives happiness, clarity, and momentum, even in the toughest of times. When you have a vision that excites you, that pulls you forward, negativity begins to lose its grip. A compelling future is not about blind optimism or empty dreams. It's about creating something meaningful to work toward, something that gives your life direction, purpose, and depth. Without a vision, life becomes reactive. You wake up, go through the motions, and repeat the same cycle. That's when negative thoughts creep in. That's when you start to feel stuck, overwhelmed, or lost. But when you have something bigger pulling you forward, you don't have time to stay stuck in fear or frustration. Your focus shifts from what's wrong to what you're building. Creating a compelling future starts with asking yourself better questions. What excites me? What kind of person do I want to become? What kind of impact do I want to make? The answers don't have to be perfect or fully formed right away. They just need to ignite a spark in you. That spark turns into vision, and vision turns into power. When you have something to look forward to, something that feels alive and real, your present becomes more meaningful. Your actions become more intentional. You stop surviving and start creating. Even during moments of struggle, when everything feels uncertain, returning to your vision keeps you centered. You remind yourself that today is part of the process, not the end of the story. You see the obstacles as part of the training, part of the growth. A compelling future gives your pain a purpose. It transforms your setbacks into setups for what's coming next. And that shift in perspective dissolves negative thinking, because you're no longer living inside the problem. You're living inside the solution. It's important to go beyond vague goals like, I want to be happy or I want to be successful. Get specific. Visualize the kind of life you want to live. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? What values guide your actions? What legacy are you creating? The clearer the picture, the stronger the pull. And when you're pulled by a vision instead of pushed by pressure, your energy shifts. You become more creative, more courageous, more connected to your inner power. This isn't about achieving perfection. It's about waking up with purpose. It's about having something to chase that matters to you, even if no one else understands it. It's about knowing that today's effort is building tomorrow's dream. And in that pursuit, happiness begins to emerge, not as a destination, but as a byproduct of progress, alignment, and vision. A compelling future reminds you that your best days are not behind you. They are still to come. And that belief alone is enough to dissolve negativity and invite joy. When your future excites you more than your past defines you, you begin to live with power, passion, and peace. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine. It's constantly searching for familiar loops, thoughts, emotions, behaviors that it can repeat without much effort. This works well when the patterns are empowering, but it becomes a serious obstacle when those patterns are negative. Negative thoughts often aren't random, they're rehearsed. They're part of a cycle your mind has learned to repeat over and over, often without your conscious permission. Breaking that pattern is essential if you want to experience happiness and emotional freedom. The good news is these patterns can be interrupted. They can be rewired. But the first step is awareness, and the second is immediate action. The moment you catch yourself slipping into a negative mental loop, whether it's doubt, frustration, fear, or blame, you must break the pattern. You can't think your way out of it, because the same thinking that created the problem can't be the solution. What's needed is a disruption, something that jolts you out of the usual rhythm. That could be a sudden shift in physical movement, a loud verbal interruption like saying stop or change, or even doing something completely unexpected like clapping your hands, jumping in place, or shifting your posture. These might sound silly, but they work because they create a moment of shock, a break in the rhythm. In that tiny window, your brain is open to something new. Once the pattern is broken, that's your chance to replace it. You don't want to just break the loop and leave your mind empty. You want to consciously direct your focus and energy towards something empowering. That could be a new thought, a positive affirmation, a meaningful goal, or even just a shift in language. The key is to replace the old loop with a new, intentional one. With enough repetition, the brain begins to form a new default pathway. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. What once felt automatic and unshakable can start to lose its grip. This kind of pattern breaking doesn't just change your emotions in the moment. It changes your identity over time. Each time you interrupt a negative loop and replace it with something stronger, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. You stop being someone who spirals into stress or fear, and you start becoming someone who takes charge of their mental state, no matter the circumstance. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about refusing to stay stuck in emotional patterns that don't serve you. It's about training your mind to respond instead of react. It's about creating the emotional muscle to face life with power, clarity, and resilience. When you break the pattern, you take your power back. You show your mind who's in charge. And in that space, between reaction and choice, you unlock the freedom to think differently, feel differently, and live differently. That's how real change begins. One of the fastest ways to experience lasting happiness and eliminate negative thoughts is to shift your focus from yourself to others. Contribution is the ultimate antidote to suffering. When you focus solely on your own problems, your own struggles, and your own frustrations, your world becomes small and heavy. But the moment you step outside of yourself and look for a way to give your time, your energy, your presence, your love, you tap into something much deeper. You access fulfillment. Contribution brings meaning, and meaning always outweighs momentary discomfort. Every person has a deep need to feel like they matter, like their life has significance. Contribution fills that need. It reminds you that you're connected to something bigger than yourself. Whether it's through a kind word, a helpful gesture, or simply listening fully to someone else, every act of giving breaks the cycle of self-absorption that often fuels negativity. It doesn't have to be massive. You don't have to start a foundation or donate a fortune. Even the smallest act of kindness can create a ripple effect, not just in someone else's life, but in your own heart. There's an emotional magic that happens when you make someone else's life better. It creates instant perspective. Suddenly, the things you were stressed about seem smaller. The weight you were carrying feels lighter. You realize that someone else is fighting their own battles. And in helping them, you become stronger yourself. Contribution fuels gratitude. It deepens empathy. It elevates your state. And when you make a habit, happiness begins to follow you, instead of you chasing after it. What's powerful about contribution is that it gives you purpose in any situation. Even during your hardest seasons, you can ask, how can I use this pain to serve someone else? How can this experience make me more compassionate, more understanding, more equipped to help? That question alone begins to transform the meaning of your struggle. When your suffering becomes a reason someone else heals, it stops being meaningless. It becomes part of your mission. In moments where negative thoughts creep in, when you feel alone, unworthy, or not enough. Step outside yourself and give. It doesn't matter how much. It only matters that you do it with intention and love. Contribution reminds you that your life matters, that you have something to offer, even on your worst days. And the more you give, the more you receive, not in a transactional way, but in the deepest emotional way possible. You receive joy, connection, clarity, and peace. Ultimately, contribution is about alignment. It's about living in a way where your actions match your values. When you give from the heart, you feel most like yourself. The version of you that shows up to serve others is your highest self. And the more time you spend in that state, the less room there is for negative thoughts to survive. Contribution clears the mind, opens the heart, and fills the soul. Motion creates emotion. The way you move your body, the energy you carry, and the physical state you live in directly affect the way you think and feel. Most people underestimate the powerful link between physiology and psychology. But if you observe closely, you'll notice that your posture, your breathing, and even the way you walk all reflect and influence your emotional state. When you're feeling down, your shoulders slump, your head lowers, your breath becomes shallow, and your energy drops. But here's the key. You can reverse engineer your emotions by changing your physical state. The body leads the mind. When you move with energy, when you breathe deeply, when you carry yourself with confidence, your mind begins to follow. One of the most effective ways to instantly break through negative thoughts and emotional slumps is to change your physiology. Stand up tall. Breathe with intention. Move your body with purpose. It doesn't take hours. Even a few minutes of intense movement, like jumping, dancing, or taking a power walk, can completely shift your mental and emotional state. Your body is designed to move, and movement awakens your inner power. When you're physically activated, it's much harder to dwell in thoughts of defeat or despair. This is why creating rituals around physical movement is so important. Don't wait until you feel like it. Move first, and the feeling will follow. Whether it's a daily workout, a cold shower, a breathing exercise, or simply putting on music and dancing around your room, these moments of motion signal to your brain that something is changing. That shift disrupts the emotional pattern that negativity feeds on. It reminds your nervous system that you are alive, capable, and in control. Even subtle changes can make a difference. Adjusting your posture while sitting, opening your chest, lifting your chin. These small acts signal confidence and shift your internal chemistry. Science backs this up. Posture affects hormone levels, energy, and mental clarity. The way you use your body sends a message to your brain about how you're doing. So send a powerful message. Choose motion that matches the emotional state you want to live in. It's also important to link motion with your goals. When you physically move towards something, your brain associates that motion with progress. Progress equals happiness. When you feel like you're moving forward, even in small ways, you feel alive. And motion keeps momentum alive. The more you move, the more energy you generate. The more energy you have, the easier it becomes to shift thoughts, emotions, and outcomes. If you ever feel stuck, uncertain, or weighed down by negativity, start with your body. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Move first. Let your body become the tool that activates your mind. You have far more control over your emotional state than you realize. And it starts with how you move. Use motion as your weapon, your fuel, your reset button. Because when you change your body, you change your life from the inside out.